Hello everyone, you're welcome to class again. So today we'll be drafting the basic bodies both front and back, and your journey to pattern drafting has to start from the basic. If you don't have the knowledge of the basic, it may be quite difficult for you to get the grasp of complex patterns. I hope you understand. So today we'll be drafting the basic bodies, and we'll be taking note of these following um measurements, because we'll be drafting up to the half length, the half length, not the full length. We'll be drafting up to the half length. So we are going to be using the shoulder span measurement, shoulder to bust measurement, bust point measurement, shoulder to under bust length and circumference, shoulder to front half length and circumference, and shoulder to back half length. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is to get the length, each length. So we'll start from the chest line. To get your chest line, you're going to divide your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 2. This is the standard measurement. So my bust circumference is 36, I divided by 6 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So my chest line is 8. I'll be marking 8 through, all through the paper, because it's going to be the same for the back bodies, the back draft. So it will be 8. The chest line doesn't change for both front and back. So I'll be using a marker for the sake of the tutorial, so that it will be visible enough for you. No, you're not supposed to draft with a marker, you're supposed to draft with a pencil, so as to have the opportunity to correct errors. If you draft with a biro, you will not be able to correct errors. It will become too rough. Okay, so this is my chest line. This is the chest line. 8, the length. So the next thing is to get my bust length, shoulder to bust point. My shoulder to bust point is 9.5. Shoulder to under bust is 12.5. Shoulder to front half length is 15.5. If you don't know how to take these measurements, please check previous posts. You see how to take accurate body measurements. Okay, now before I'll draw out the straight line, I'll get the box just as a guide on what I'm expected to draft for the front bodies. I'll get a block for the front pattern, and to get a block, you use your bust circumference to get the block. There is this calculation for getting the accurate bust circumference. I need you to know that the value you use for the chest line for the back is different from the one you use for the front. And of course, the chest line and the bust circumference are usually the same when it comes to the basic bodies. You use the same circumference for the chest line and for the bust point for your basic bodies. And how do you calculate for the front? You do your bust circumference divided by 2, you get the value, plus 0.5, you get the value, then you divide by 2 again. So my bust circumference is 36, divided by 2 is 18, plus 0.5, 18.5, divided by 2, 9.25. So the block will be 9.25. I'll mark that from the top to the bottom. So I'll connect this using a straight ruler. Then I'll connect the previous measurements. The straight ruler too. So the next thing is to get our shoulder span, so as to be able to create our armhole. For me, my shoulder span is 15. We are drafting on fold, so divided by 2 is 7.5. Up to your chest line, we connect with a straight line. Okay, so let this stay there. Then let's do our neckline. To get your neck width, 3 by 3 is not the standard. 3 inches is not the standard for neck width, please, in case you think it's the standard. To get your neck width, you're going to divide your bust circumference by 12. Bust circumference by 12. You know my bust circumference is 36, divided by 12 is 3. So my neck width is 3 also. I'll connect with a straight ruler. Then I'll label everything. This is my bust point, my bust, which is 9.5. I hope you can see. This is my Honda bust, 12.5, and this is my front half length. My front half length is 15.5. Okay, so I'll use my armhole curve to get my neckline, the basic neckline. Okay, so moving on to the armhole now. The standard for your shoulder slope for the front is 1 inch. You connect it into ½ inch. Okay, so you are going to connect with a straight line into 2.5 inches. You know my neckline is 3 inches, but because the slopy part of our neck is coming all the way from the neck into the shoulder, the slopy part of our shoulder is not just straight like that. It's slopy from the neck area. So now to get the midpoint of your armhole, the standard is, this is one, the standard is 0.75 for the front. And how do you get the points? You divide your chest line by 2 and add this 1 inch that you deducted before. So my chest line is 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So from the tip, I'm going to measure out 5 inches. And from that 5, I'll come out by 0.75 as explained. Then I'll use my armhole curve to connect from the tip of the shoulder slope to the midpoint, and from the midpoint to the block. People ask about how to get the accurate armhole. How do you get that? You divide your bust circumference. Your bust circumference. Let me label this. This is 9.25. And my Honda bust, the circumference is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. My half length circumference is 29 divided by 4 is 7.25. So you divide your bust circumference. My bust circumference is 36 divided by 4 is 9 to get the accurate armhole. So now after you've gotten the value, you measure the armhole you drafted now to see if you're going to get the accurate figure. Okay, you measure gently. So this is 9. Mine is accurate. In case your own is not accurate, you have the privilege of adding up to 1 inch on your chest line. But whatever you add to your chest line, half of it must come to your bust line. Half of it must. Immediately, whatever you need to add up to your armhole circumference is beyond 1 inch. It means your chest line is not accurate. You have to come down by 0.5 inch. For instance, if by the time I measure this is not up to 9 inches and I have just 7.5, I have 1.5 left, I need to increase my chest line by 0.5, then extend it to that 0.5 and remeasure, and hopefully I'll get that 9 inches that I need. But this is perfect, you know. If I had 8, I'll just extend this part. If I had 8.5, I'll extend this part. As long as it's not beyond 1 inch, you can extend that on the chest line. Okay, this is accurate. So I have my 9 inches. The next thing we'll do is to plot in our darts. The basic dart for the front is 0.5, which is 1 inch altogether. Then to get that, I will plot in my nipple to nipple point measurements, which is my bust span. My bust span is 7. Unfold is 3.5. So I'll mark out 3.5 from this part to my bust line. But I'll come down by 0.5 inch. Reason being, we don't want to have a pointed tip on the bust point, because your basic bodice has to be sewn out. You cannot close your dart on your basic body, it has to be sewn out. And if you are going to sew that, you don't want to have the ending pointed on your bust. So I will mark out my 0.5, mark out my 0.5, mark out my 0.5. I hope you're following. Please don't mind how rough it looks. I'm using a marker, so it's expected. So this is where the dart ends, 0.5 inch before my bust line. So after doing that, what we are left to do is to put in our circumference to shape the front pattern. So 7.25 plus this 1 inch that I removed from this part is now 8.25. So I also plot that of the under bust, 7.5. What I took out from this part is 0.5. 7.5 plus 0.5 is 8 inches. So I'll mark out 8 inches. The bust point is 9.25. We already have it here. So I'll just connect my bust line into my under bust and into my half length. Now, there is a difference of 1.5 between my bust, my front half length, and my back half length. Is of 1.5. So I'll mark out the 1.5 and connect it into somewhere close to my bust point, not really my bust point. Remember, we don't want a pointed edge. So this is 1.5. By the time you want to transfer to fabric, you are going to notch the 2 points. You notch these 2 points as well to sew it out. And this bust dart is so that the back half length and the front half length will align at the sides. You know, again, this one is 15.5, but the back is 14 inches. So we are done with the front pattern. Moving on to the back now, you are going to do the same thing that you did for this front pattern. You are going to create a block for the back pattern, but for the back you are going to take note of the zipper allowance. So you are first going to create the line for the zipper allowance, which is 1 inch. So you're going to make a straight line with that. Okay, then we are going to plot out our back half length, which is 14 inches. 14 inches. But before we are going to do the straight line, just like we did for the front, we are going to get our block, but it's going to exclude the zipper allowance, 9.5, yes. Okay, 9.25 rather, excuse me. 9.25 is our bust circumference for the front. Remember, we drafted on fold. 9.25. We are going to use the same block, the same measurement for the block of the back too. Connect with a straight line. The marker is getting dried. Before you now connect this with a straight line, just so you know where the block is. So this will serve as our zipper allowance. Then we'll move on to get the under bust for the back. Of course, there is no bust at the back, so the under bust is not necessary, but so that the shaping we align at the sides, we're also going to plot the under bust for the back. How do you get the under bust for the back? You measure the distance between the under bust for the front and your half length for the front. So mine is 3 inches. I will measure from the back half length. This is my back half length, which is 14. I hope you can see the marker is getting dried. The circumference is still 7 point. So while I was explaining how to get the shoulder slope, I didn't know my video had stopped recording. Anyways, the standard for the front is 1 inch, but for the back is 0.75. So into 0.5 on your neck width, you are going to connect with a straight line. And to get your midpoint, your mid armhole for the back, you are going to do your chest line divided by 2 plus this, just like you did for the front. And my chest line is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. plus 0.75 is 4.75. So from the tip, from the edge of your drafting paper, you are going to measure out that value. Mine is 4.75. The standard, distance between the your shoulder line and your mid armhole is 0.75 for the front, but for the back is 0.5. Okay, so you measure her 0.5 from your shoulder line, and you connect using your armhole curve, touching the tip of your shoulder slope and into your block. So just like we did for the front, we are going to measure if our armhole circumference is accurate. Remember, is your bust circumference divided by 4. I have 8.25 here, and it's supposed to be 9. So 0.75 is what I need to balance it up. I can always extend it here, 0.75. I hope you understand. 0.75. That's what I can tell you about the basic. Look out for other tutorials on bustier as time goes on. May God permit. Okay. Now I have, from this point, the new point, you are going to measure it out to make sure you have up to what you need, which is 9 inches. The reason you have to ensure, so this is 9 inches. The reason you have to ensure it is accurate is so that your armhole will not be too tight. So this is our new this is what we make up for the armhole. But before you are going to rule it out to finalize, you are going to plot in your darts. My bust span is 3.5 inches, 3.5 up to the chest line, and the basic dart intake for the back is 0.25 on both sides, making 0.5. Remember that of the front is 0.5 on both sides, which makes up for 1 inch. So for the back, I'll measure 0.25, 0.25, and I'll connect to the chest line. There's nothing to be scared about for the back because there is no bust. You don't have to be scared of a pointed edge. Of course, you have to master the act of joining that won't give it a pointed edge. But practice makes perfection. After you've done that, we are now going to eliminate zipper bulge by tightening the back. How can we tighten the back? You come in by 1 inch here, you connect it this way into your center line. You connect this old center line into the edge of the old zipper allowance. So you just created a new zipper allowance. Somebody is asking if it's going to affect the dart. No, it won't affect the dart. The midpoint here, what we are eliminating here, is excess. It's just an excess that ends up creating a bulge at the back. It's just an excess because our back, the center of our back goes inward. It's not straight, it goes inward. So that is what creates the excess and then the zipper bulge. That's what we've eliminated here. So after doing this, we then put in our circumference. Of course, it's going to be the new center line. From the new center line, from this point, my circumference is 7.25. I'll put in 7.25, but take note of the dart that you took. 7.25 plus half inch here, that's 7.75. You are going to calculate what you took on your under bust line. I took off 0.3. 0.3 plus my under bust circumference is 7.5. That's 7.8. From this center line, I'll mark out my 7.8. Your 7.8 can be in between. It can be in between your 7.75 and your 7.9. Okay? And then for our chest line, remember we took 0.5 in the measurements that we took. We did for the front bust circumference. We did our bust circumference divided by 2 plus 0.5. That plus 0.5 was taken from the back because there is no bust at the back. I hope you understand. So that's 0.5 that we took away. We are going to put it into consideration here. So to just make it's just a tip and hack. The direct measurement is this circumference for the front minus 0.5 is what you're going to use to get the circumference for the back. So 9.25 minus 0.5 is 8.75. So from the center line, I'll measure out 8.75. This is my 8.75. But you know we needed this to make up for our armhole. I hope you're getting me. So this has to be our new circumference. Do you get me? If this has to be our new circumference, you don't have a choice but to connect from this edge. No, it's not going to affect your measurements. Even if it's going to affect your measurement, it won't be too obvious. I hope you understand. It won't be too obvious. There was nothing we could do about it because the armhole was short. The only scenario that could exempt adding more is if your front armhole was in excess. After measuring it, as I was looking for 9 inches, if I had like 9.5 or 10 inches, I could always make up for that one that is missing on the back armhole with the front. You know, it's the same arm anyway, so it's going to balance itself out. But in this case, the front one was accurate, but the back armhole was short, so we had to add it back. So this is our back bodice and this is our front bodice. I hope you were able to learn something. If you have any question, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for other tutorials. Bye bye.